We have a single track railway and a single lane highway connecting Goa to northern Karnataka. Obviously, this needs to be augmented to ensure the evacuation of this 50 million tons per annum, which is estimated to come to Goa. And that is why to help the evacuation of this 50 million tons, the government wants to cut trees in the Mollem Wildlife Sanctuary, wants to build railway lines, wants to expand the highway to augment the coal evacuation infrastructure in Goa. So in one way, they want to turn Goa into a coal hub, and at the other way, on the other side, they want to cut trees of a wildlife sanctuary, which is home to a diverse number of wild animals. And this is a very sad state that Goa is in right now. The one whom you are watching on screen right now, yours truly, has been a victim of coal dust pollution emanating from the Mormugao port. Respiratory illnesses are a fact of life for the citizens of Vasco and Mormugao. Children who are affected by this pollution are either treated with anti-allergens, which have their own side effects. So it is a double whammy of sorts. As a child, I underwent the trauma, and I also had to make numerous visits to the doctor and hospitals. And I was put under nebulizers so many times because I, as a child, suffered from so many respiratory problems, breathing difficulties. And there was not just me, so many other kids just like me suffered from the same problems. And it is a deja vu when I see my 9-year-old sibling going through the same agony. And what angers me is because of cost cutting by corporates like Jindal and Adani. In fact, there is nothing called cost cutting. Eventually, the cost is passed on to the helpless people like me and the normal other citizens of Vasco. And government statistics prove that. A reply which was tabled by the government to question the state legislative assembly, and the government replied to this question saying that 4,550 persons from Mormugao, and that is the taluka in which the city of Vasco is situated, 4,550 people were treated for respiratory diseases and ailments at two of the major government hospitals, that is Goa Medical College and Chest and TB Hospital. And the Mormugao Port Trust has their own hospital, which said that they treated another 400 persons, which brings the tally up to 5,000 persons out of a population of 92,000. And these statistics, which I am quoting to you all right now, are basically government sources. And most of the people in Vasco do not go to a government medical hospital like the Goa Medical College, because there are so many people, and to get an appointment is also really difficult. So they mostly go to their private practitioners, or they go to private hospital. And if we get these numbers, it will go up to much more. It will be at least around 10,000 people out of 92,000. And my concern is that what is happening to Vasco and the people of Vasco is like a trailer of what is going to happen to the rest of Goa once coal handling touches 50 million tons per annum, as envisaged under the Sagarmala program. Now, when I was invited to address this webinar, I was asked to talk about certain statements that come out from the government and from the corporates, washing their hands of this coal issue, of washing their hands of the fact that trees are going to be cut in a wildlife sanctuary. And I will address three of those myths that have been floated by the government and the various corporates. Number one, and this is, I don't know, I'm tired of hearing this, is that coal is used to generate power. Correct. I'm not saying it's not wrong. The fact is that coal is used to generate power. But what kind of coal is used to generate power? Thermal coal. And if one peruses the facts, the amount of thermal coal that is brought to the port in Goa is minuscule compared to the amount of coking coal that is imported to Goa. And all this coking coal is used by the steel plant of Jindal Steel Works in Vijayanagar. Near there's a plant in a place called Toranagallu in Hospet in northern Karnataka. Likewise, Adani supplies coal to steel plants in Hubli. And none of this coal is utilized by power plants or utilized by steel plants that are based in Goa. So this statement that coal is used to generate power, and I think at this moment only 2 million tons or something of thermal coal is imported to Goa, and I think 2 million tons of thermal coal is not enough to feed the electrical needs of the people of Goa. Another statement was a reputed news channel interviewed the main man in the Goan government. And he said that cutting of trees in the Mollem Wildlife Sanctuary and the coal that is handled at the Mormugam port is not related at all. Activists are just, because they have no other work, they are unemployed, they just want to pass their time and make certain statements. But this, I would like to share my screen and I'll show a document. I have highlighted a certain part. Can you all see this? Ankit, can you see this? What I'm sharing?
Yes, we can see.
Yes. Now this is from the Sagarmala project, Sagarmala, the final master plan for the Mormugao port. And this is Annexure 1, which was a study made by Boston Consulting Group. And they say that after dredging, the combined capacity of Jindal Steelworks coal terminal and Adani is 19 million tons per annum. Hence, the railway track has to be doubled, which means that they need to double the railway track, and therefore, where they have to find a place to double this track. Where are they going to do it? Here. If you see in key findings, paragraph 2, railways doubling project was initiated a few years back with railways sanctioning the grants for doubling the line from Goa to Hospet. I just mentioned Hospet. Why? Because JSW takes its coal from Goa to Hospet. And if it needs to increase its handling, increase its capacity, it needs double line, double tracks to take this same coal from Goa to Hospet. And that is why they are going to cut through Mollem. They are going to cut through a wildlife sanctuary. Going down, this is a very explosive paragraph. They say doubling of the line has to be completed with the last mile connectivity by 2019 in order to ensure the port's evacuation capacity is in line with terminal capacity and demand in the hinterland. And this evacuation capacity in line with terminal capacity, I will come to in my next point. And the next sentence, the last sentence is very important. I have highlighted it. Local government has to be pressurized from the center for the completion of the doubling of the line. So now it is clear this project, this program and this document has been approved by the central government headed by our Honorable Prime Minister. And the Goa government tells us that there is absolutely no connection between the two issues, that is Mollem, cutting of trees in Mollem, and the coal hub that they propose to start at the Murmugam port. Another statement made by the government was that we are going to decrease coal handling in Goa by 50%. Now, if you decrease coal handling in Goa by 50%, what is the need for going ahead with these projects? That is doubling of the line and expansion of the highway. What is going to go to Hospet? Goans are not going to go for tourism purposes to Hospet, because Hospet is not a tourism destination. Okay. My next point is a tweet that was shared by the Adani Twitter handle. I think, can you see it, Ankit?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes. Here the statement made by them is that the Adani group refutes and condemns fake news circulated by politically motivated groups about fictitious business interests comprising of road and railway projects in the state of Goa. And they further say here, this is to clarify again that they are no longer connected. They are no way connected to existing issues in Goa, which is pertaining to expansion of highway and railway lines. Here they are saying that the ongoing issue is a political driven agenda with vested interests that is misleading people. And here in this pie chart, they say that they only handle 10% of the total business. Now, I said, when I was talking about the current handling of coal in Goa, I said it was 12 million tons per annum, out of which Adani handles 5.2 million tons of coal. So 5.2 million tons out of 12 million tons, is it 10%? It is not 10%, right? And then they say that they are not at all connected to the expansion of highway and railway lines. Now, I would like to show another document, which is the Tariff Authorities of Major Ports Order. In this, Adani pleads with the tariff authorities that please give, hamara tariff maaf kar do, reduce our tariffs because we are having no business. And in that they say that the constraints and limitations with respect to berth number 7 of the port is operated by Adani Murmugam Port Private Limited. And they say that because there is evacuation by cargo by both rail as well as road is not sufficiently developed and was not considered. I would like to show you some documents, some statistics that were shown by Adani to the major tariff authorities. They say that in 2018-19 and 2017-18, they made a loss of how much? 10,343 lakh rupees. And here they say that they have handled only 56% of the capacity as per the direct project report that was made by the Murmugam Port Trust. Okay, so they are saying that they are a stressed PPP project. I think that point C, you can see that they are saying that they are a stressed PPP project. So they are saying to turn their loss into a profit, okay, because they are making losses because of the 3 reasons I have highlighted in pink. Number 1 is non-availability of railway rakes, and C is restriction of cargo movement by road. Non-availability of railway rakes means what? I have already said first that we only have a single track. So you need a double track so that Adani can turn his loss into profits by handling at his full capacity. That is 7.5 million tons. And restriction of cargo movement by road is the expansion of the highways. So they say that if the highways are expanded, we can send our coal to wherever, hospet or wherever, if there is expansion of the highways, and that is also cutting through Molen, through a wildlife sanctuary. So when they say, I will show the photograph, their tweet again. That ongoing issue is a politically driven agenda with vested interests that is misleading people. So I don't know now at this point of time who is politically motivated. Is it the activists who are politically motivated or who else? And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Shovin. That was really, really insightful. And you have successfully burst the myths that the corporates and the governments that ride on. And yeah, the next speaker for the evening, we have Samuel Pereira from Goa. Hi, Samuel. May I request you to please introduce yourself, and then I would ask you the question. Samuel? Samuel, can you hear us? I think he's facing some internet issues. Just a second. Not a problem. We'll move on to the next one. We'll get back on Samuel again. Next up is Trinayan from Assam. Trinayan? Hi, Trinayan.
Hi, hello, hello.
Hello. Could you please introduce yourself? And then I would like to ask you a question.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Yeah, my name is Trinan Gogoi. I'm from Assam, and I'm a founder of an NGO called Green Bird Society, and we're working here for Dihing Patkai rainforest, which is the only remaining patch of rainforest, very pristine and biodiversity hotspot of Indian subcontinent. We are working here since 2012, and that was a very insightful by Shravan. Thank you so much to knowing we knew a lot from it actually. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Trinayan.
Yeah.
Assam has, been prey to the coal issue, and you have been fighting to save Amazon of the East, Dihing Patkai. So, how exactly is coal threatening Dihing Patkai, and what is happening right now?
Yeah, the thing is like in this place in Dihing Patkai, there's an elephant reserve. There's an elephant reserve of 937 square kilometer. Uh, but the thing is, what is happening here? The geographically, if you say, then the coal fields over here is a tertiary coal fields. A tertiary coal fields means like the coal you will find in the upper cast layer of the soil. So what is more threatening thing which is going on is the open cast mining. The open cast mining is very much dangerous and very threatening for this area actually, because uh, according you can say during lockdown, what happened? NBWL has given approval to NEC, that is coal, northeast coal fields, northeastern coal fields, and then they have been doing since for a long period of time. They had a lease for 30 years from 1973 to 2003, but after that they don't have any clearance. But still then they have been they have been doing all this uh, coal mining, which is without any clearance. That is what we came to know, and that is definitely it's like you can say in like 17 years they have been doing like this. So the environment clearance is like one of the main thing we need to know, that how and who and how they have been doing all this. And then if you say biodiverse, if you say geographically, if you say biodiversity wise, this place is very pristine. Okay, and the Indian subcontinent, the wildlife wise, if you say, this is a dispersal point. From this place, from this area, uh, to Myanmar, to Indonesia, everything is connected. Okay, so and the species which you'll found over here is very, different kind, very exotic, because uh, in this place you will only find, in all over world you will not find seven species of cats living in the same place. The seven species of cats is living here. Okay, with like hornbills and all hornbills, five species of hornbills you will find over here. And you will find the most critically endangered bird, which is a state bird of Assam also, that is white winged wood duck. Okay, it is only found like in wild, you will find not more than 500. So these are the last remainings of, the rainforest. So we need to save it, by any means. We need to save it, because I'm not talking as a founder or as a uh, member of a NGO. I'm talking as a, you know mm, as a citizen, as a villager who is living nearby a forest village. I stay in a forest village. It is 500, only it is 500 meters away from my place, where means like this elephant forest is there. So there is around 500 plus elephants roaming there. What will happen to them if they come? And it's like, recently we always face this human wildlife conflict. The human wildlife conflict is increasing day by day in this place. Every day we keep on getting this kind of, no this kind of things, this kind of incidents happening every, means like, very frequently. Recently, it's like very, heartbreaking to see how elephants are coming to the human territory, you know to finding for food and fodder and all this kind of things, right? Not only elephants, all kind of, things is happening over here. And the most importantly we want to stop here is the illegal coal mining which is going on. Because NEC is like a national entity, and if they have been doing all this kind of things, then what the other entities like illegal coal mafias will do? They have been doing a lot in this area, means like. But hopefully, and very thankfully, I must say, in this point, last year, in this point of time, it was very devastating going on. Devastation was going on. But right now, thankfully, I must say that things have been not that, uh, no things have been in a, it's like it's not going to that bad right now in this area. I don't know about the future or how it will happen, but at this point of time, I must say that things have been changed a bit. And recently, government, honorable chief minister of Assam, he also declared like Dihing Patkai to upgrade it to national park. This is one of the good, you know, sign we can see in this area. Uh, Hopefully, this will definitely save. W- but it's not. You have to take more area. Actually, that's our demand. Our demand is to take more area. Right now, it's only, you can say, 200 square kilometer is like, you know have been notified, to upgrade to national park. But there are a lot. No, there's 937 square kilometer. It's a big elephant for is a forest. So we need to take the maximum of it to save it. So things are going on, and people like you, like Muse Foundation, and like the Molem, in the Molem movement, and this, and from Australia, this coal, this is not so cold actually. Things we need to work together, and definitely we should find, because you can see it's 21st century, and like in uh, other part of country, other part of world, people are changing to renewable sources. Fossil fuels are really bad to our. It is like we need to believe in science. That's it. So we have to work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trinan. We also have been part of the Ding Patkai movement, and it is very inspiring to see your contribution to the movement. Next speaker, we have
Thank you.
Samuel Pereira, who is all back online. So, Samuel, hi Samuel, may I please request you to please introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you your question. Samuel?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me guys? One second now. I don't think I'm getting a proper connection here. One
Yeah,
second.
not a problem.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please introduce yourself
Yeah.
to our viewers, and then I'll ask you a
Okay.
question.
So hi guys, my name is Samuel Pereira. One second. I'm just getting very bad connection here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hi guys, my name is Samuel Pereira and I have been with the Molim movement since I have not helped start anything with regards to the Molim movement. But when I heard what had happened, I was concerned because this was a place that, as children, as kids, we had always gone there. We would always visit Molim, for all school-related activities. They would take us there for picnics, for camps, whatever. So, growing up, we all had a connection with Molim, at least me and my friends in schoolmates also. And it was not just one school; it was most schools in Goa would always take you to a farm or to nature. They would make you interact with nature. So as a kid, that was what we always did. So then when we heard that, for the government had agreed to projects that would consider, finishing off the forest, completely annihilating the forest, just for in the name of, electricity and in the name of coal also, that is when, the voices of the youth started rising and people were not keeping quiet at all. People said that this is our state and that we will take into account that this is not what we want. So that is how it started going out from there.
Yes. So, Samuel, as we know that coal has been doing much harm and continues to do so, as rightly pointed out by Chauvin and Trinayan. So,
Okay.
Goa has been being touted to become a coal hub, but at the cost of Molim's biodiversity. We see, we see there is an uprising in Goa against environmental injustice, and you have been a part of it. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So
could you just,
the in hello,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, go on, go on.
So yes. So back on the 1st of November, there was one major protest. That is what it was held in Chandor, and it was at that protest that everyone came. Like people had just said that what, I'm going to come out and I'm going to protest against this thing and that against the fact that the government has agreed to all of these projects. So it was a very peaceful protest. It was late at night. I think it was a midnight protest, and it was just everyone on the railway tracks just lighting candles and stopping the movement of the coal trains based at that hour. So there was no violence. There was no screaming, shouting. It was a fun experience actually. It was people singing folk songs. Everybody just being one together. Yet there was a heavy police force present over there itself. And then today there has
Samuel,
been
sorry
another.
to interrupt you. There is a
Yeah.
slight construction noise. So could you be just little louder to our audience?
Sorry.
There's a little bit of background noise. So if you
Okay.
could
Okay.
be a
So
little
sorry
bit
about that.
louder, not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So back in November, on the 1st of November, there was a protest at Chandor. So this was regarding the double tracking of railway lines. And at that protest, there were around, I think, 5,000 people. And that is when the news broke out to the national media and the mainstream media that people in Goa have been protesting. But before November itself, like immediately when the lockdown was there, uh, there were projects that were approved in like 10 to 20 minutes, and that projects that had a massive impact on the environment. So people had been protesting since the start of the lockdown. but the government always played a blind eye towards these voices and towards the voices of the people, and they were like, no, these are just outsiders who are protesting, these are paid people, they are all, it is all just a, it's all just a show. But the fact is that people from every walk of life of Goa at one point were like, no, this is not what we want for Goa. We do not want Goa become a coal hub. You had tourism stakeholders, you had researchers all over India. They have also written letters to the government with regards to what is at stake if they go through with, like, uh, cutting down Molim. So in terms of that, that was what happened at that protest, and then it finally came out to light, came out to national media, and that is when we had coverage from everywhere, from all over India, and people realized. So today itself, there were youth who were arrested at Panjim for just nothing. They haven't been said why they are arrested. They've just been put in a police van, and police have just been roaming around with them. The youth are live on Instagram also. So the government's taking law into their own hands, and they are not respecting the voices of the people and the opinions of the people. Since these projects are in Goa, it would make sense if at least they considered the Goan people into consideration, because these projects are going to be with us for like the rest of our life. Like, the government will come and go, the government will change, and then they will just go and blame one more government. But for the people, these are like, this is their livelihood, this is their land. So that is one thing that, also has to be taken into consideration, that this is the land of the people, and that is what everyone is trying to push out, what everyone wants to make known, that the people will not stand quiet for when such issues are being raised.
Could you please mute yourself, Samuel? There's a bit of a background noise.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Can't really help it.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Yes, yes. So that was very, very inspiring. And the Molam movement has been, we look up to the movement in our zone and to take it forward. So now I would request the audience, if they have any questions, to put them in the comment section. And in case we cannot answer them right now, we shall get back to you. Now, I would like to move on to Australia. We have with us is Holly. Hi, Holly. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes, I'm Holly Cranor. I'm calling in from Sydney, which is the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. And I've long been part of the movement to challenge coal in Australia and for climate justice. I've been involved since about 2005, 15 years. So yeah, it's been a long ride, and we've got many years to go yet. So yeah, tonight tonight here in Australia, I wanted to share some insights from here.
Yes. So what's been happening in Australia has been caught the attention of quite few of the Indians. So could you please tell us what has been happening in the Australia?
Yes. So Australia is the world's biggest miner and exporter of coal. And so coal mining is our biggest contribution to climate change. And, some of the coal, of course, mined in Australia is exported to India, particularly coal for steel. And some of that goes to ports like Goa already. And certainly, the Adani company are proposing Australia's biggest ever coal mine, about 60 million tonnes of coal a year. So that's one of the things that we have been working really hard to prevent and protect the environment from. And, just the climate pollution from the coal Australia exports is around 1 billion tonnes of carbon pollution every year. So just Australia's contribution to this global climate change problem is really huge. And in Australia, like in India, we're already feeling the very dangerous impacts of climate change, from mining and burning coal. And, this time last year, Australia had just terrifying wildfires across this very large continent. And for months and months, we just breathed extremely polluted air that harmed our health. Those wildfires killed or displaced 3 billion animals. 3 billion animals were killed or displaced just from those wildfires. Just a huge scale of destruction. and thousands of people lost their homes and some people lost their lives. And this is just one of the impacts we're feeling already from the climate change we have now, and that's fueled by burning coal. And of course, all of Australia's coal mining happens on Aboriginal land, on Indigenous land, and this mining destroys the land and the culture and the rights of some of the oldest living peoples on the planet. And coal mining in Australia has really gone hand in hand with colonisation. So, you know, when Britain's Captain Cook first sailed the shores of this continent 250 years ago, Captain Cook saw coal in the cliffs along the coast. And soon after the British invaded and colonised Australia, they began mining coal in 1797 in a place called Newcastle. And that is the land of the Awabakal people. And they have this ancient Dreamtime story, which is about the creation of coal. And their story tells them and tells us that coal is something to be feared and to be used wisely. And so we would have had a very different set of circumstances if we'd heeded that ancient knowledge. So the Wangan and Jagalingou people in particular are Aboriginal people leading the resistance to coal mining, and they're fighting for their land, for water and for their rights. They've been fighting against Adani's proposed Carmichael coal mine. And they've led this through challenging Adani in many, many court cases, through, you know, protesting the company and, you know, lobbying, and by challenging Adani's engineers, potential investors, potential insurers. They've really tried everything. They've really been leading the fight to stop this mine. So about the Carmichael mine, so they're beginning to build the Carmichael coal mine. They already own a port, and they're also trying to build what will be a 400-kilometre railway line. And half of it is meant to be double tracking. So the stories from Goa really ring very similar stories there. And one of the reasons why we're so concerned is if Adani builds this mine and the railway line, it would open up the Galilee Basin to mining. And so there are no coal mines in the Galilee Basin now. And the proposed coal mines there, including Adani's, is the second biggest expansion of coal mining on the planet after what is proposed for Western China. So we've been working on it for many years now, and we've still got work to do. So, you know, Adani's mine would be the first, and then there's at least 8 mega mines to follow, and all up would be about 330 million tonnes of coal every single year. So just an enormous, enormous scale. And that's why we've been really motivated to fight really hard to stop these coal mines in order to protect the environment. And you know, one of the things we're concerned about too is what happens in the places where Australian coal is burned. And coal from the Carmichael mine in Australia, you know, would be exported to Mundra, would be exported to Goa, and would definitely be exported to Adani's port in Odisha, and then travel along the railway line to Goa in Jharkhand, where a new coal-fired power station is being built in Godda, where, you know, farmers, Indigenous peoples from 10 villages have been forcibly removed from their land and stripped of their farming livelihood to make way for this large new coal-fired power station. And that power station will drain about 36 billion litres of water every year from the Ganges River, you know, putting endangered species like the Gangetic dolphin at risk, as well as fish stocks that millions and millions of people live on, survive on. So, and Adani are already sucking up a lot of the groundwater, that is meaning that the water table is dropping, making what farming there is still in the area more and more difficult, meaning that lots of crops are starting to fail. So it's really, really concerning that Australian coal, you know, exported from the place where we are is going to drive, you know, further destruction in other parts of the world. I've got a couple of photos to share just to illustrate my next points. Which are just about the impacts of the mine. And so where the mine is proposed, there are a whole range of protected and threatened species, one of which is, of course, the well-known koala. Others are emus, beautiful giant birds. This one is one of my favourites, the endangered black-throated finch, a very small and beautiful bird, and Adani planned to bulldoze its best and last remaining habitat that will, experts say, drive this species to extinction, which is something we definitely don't want to see happen. And then this is the area where Adani wants to mine. So this is the Carmichael River with beautiful trees around it. This is the sacred Dungmabula Springs that has existed for millions of years. And this is in a desert area. It's quite dry. So where these springs exist, they're very important places, particularly to the Wanganajagalingou people. And, you know, this is the area where the mine is proposed from the air, these, you know, beautiful stands of forest. So what's planned? This is what has already begun happening, where Adani are digging a very large dam, and they're going to take out billions, tens of billions of litres of water from the groundwater, and they're going to dump that water into this, where it will evaporate over time. So they're going to drain the water table in order to get to the coal seam and be able to mine it. And, you know, beginning to develop a mine, but they have a very long way to go. And Adani first bought this mine proposal in 2010. They've spent about $5 billion, and they still don't have a coal mine or a rail line. So it's been a very expensive and slow, you know, over 10 years experience for Adani, and they're trying to build a mine that is never ever going to be profitable. So it's a very expensive operation for them. And this is where they're cutting down trees in order to build hundreds of kilometres of rail line to transport the coal to the coast. So on the coast, if you see here in the background, this is Adani's coal port, and all that blue water there is the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area. You know, the Great Barrier Reef being one of the most biodiverse places on Earth, and it is the planet's largest living organism. And this here is actually pollution. So in a storm a couple of years ago, Adani failed to contain the piles and piles of coal at the port, and all of that pollution spilled into this wetland area, and it also spilled into the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area. Now, Adani, you know, were fined, were investigated, you know, were found guilty of polluting both the wetlands and the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area, but the fines were pretty minimal. But we've already seen in this early stages, you know, some really significant pollution of very, very important ecological places. So it's something that really worries us. And here's some more photos of Adani's port, the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area, and the pollution of that coal through this wetland area that really should never have happened. But of course, we have been fighting for many years, and we have been winning. So first, we stopped a $1 billion loan from the Australian government to this destructive project. And that was just like millions of people coming together to make sure that, you know, public money didn't go to destroying the Great Barrier Reef in our local environment. And we also made sure that Australia's biggest banks didn't waste their money and our money, for those of us who bank with them, on this project as well. And we've done lots and lots of protests, starting with ones that focused on the reef. So protests on the water, which are very fun. These are some of the protests led by Wangan and Jagalingou people on the mine site. And this year, recently, they delivered an eviction notice, and they've been conducting dance, music, cultural ceremonies to assert their sovereignty of their land. And here they are, standing up to one of the mine construction trucks. Yeah, that's one of the other guys. So there's a few photos of some of the protests. We did, also successfully stop plans that would dredge the ports in order to expand them and stop some of those new coal terminals in the ports, which has been really important in successfully protecting marine life that's just really vulnerable to dredging and, of course, to spills and activity of ports. But importantly, the thing we've done the most is to really try and follow the money. We know that these big companies can't operate without money from banks or insurance from insurance companies and services from engineering companies and more. And, any of these companies that are helping to expand coal infrastructure are contributing to making climate change worse. But so many of these companies say they want to solve climate change. And many of the people who work for them, their employees, also want to solve climate change. So we've really tried to connect with some of these companies who provide money and services to the coal industry to really urge them to change their policies and to phase out this work that contributes to environmental destruction and to really invest in our sustainable future. So we've just really focused on building people power, telling our story, and stopping the money for coal to be able to expand. And it's been hard work and slow work, but it is working, because the truth is the world is moving away very rapidly from coal. There are just still some companies who want to try and expand it and try and profit in the short term from this destruction. But there's a lot of people on our side, and we've found in our fight that actually people everywhere do agree with us, and even some of the world's biggest banks agree with us, and insurance companies agree with us, and engineering firms agree with us. So we just need to keep building our movements and building our connections and our commitments to fight until we win. So really glad to be here with all of you, building our connections and our fight together. So thank you.
We fully agree with you, whatever you said, Holly. The pictures were mind-blowing, and it's really heartbreaking to see the lovely animals and our beloved forest and the habitat is in threat. But we hope we'll find a way out of this. Moving on, we just want to reiterate that, and as Samuel mentioned, some of our Goans young Molim protesters have been arrested, and we demand the Goan government to release these protesters immediately. Okay, and moving on, our fifth speaker, Advocate Debajit Das, he couldn't join us today due to certain urgent engagement, but we have a response from him. Before that, my question to him was, right from Molim to Dehing to Australia's coal-related projects that are environmentally disastrous, we see local people haven't been taken into consideration. There are efforts to do away with the law that gives a voice to the local people. We also saw an uprising against dilution of EIA. While you are fighting for Dehing, we see two most important factors. Post-facto approval and public hearing have also been taken up by you. How do you see this fight going forward? And lastly, what would be the message that the younger generation would want to hear? We'll play the video recording in a bit.
Ankit, first of all, I welcome all the participants in this webinar. In fact, this has been, first I'll have to congratulate you all for organizing this particular webinar on a very important issue confronting us, and moreover, is at a time when we are in the 5th year of the Paris Conference. And now next year, into 2021, there'll be a review conference in Glasgow, Scotland. and again we'll review it, and because now we are at a critical juncture. Now, insofar as the cases are concerned, first of all, I'll just give you a background as to how the case came about. It was during the COVID times that I, along with one of my colleagues, High Court, and another advocate, Rakhi Chaudhary, we just mooted an idea that at the time, in fact, the blowout at the Bagjan in Upper Assam had happened, and there were a lot of destruction of the ecosystem, and there were a lot of issues which were cropping up. The common people were suffering. At that time, we thought of why not we take up a PIL concerning two very important issues confronting Assam. The one is the illegal coal mining in the Patkai, which is supposed to be a tropical rainforest in Upper Assam, one of the biodiverse hotspots of the world, connecting it with entire Southeast Asia from Myanmar and onwards. And we got the documents from the website, and we immediately prepared our case. And within a very short time, we moved the PIL before the Guwahati High Court. And our main ground was basically that the Coal India Limited Company, public sector undertaking, undertook a mining operation within a reserve forest, which is supposed to be an elephant reserve forest, and adjoining it, a Saliki reserve, proposed reserve forest. And this was a 30 years lease starting from the 70s. It was to end in 2003. They did not apply for it, and they continued mining. And it was only in 2013 they applied. And in the process, the devastation took place. Now, we brought an issue, two very important issues. First is that it was in violation of the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, which presupposes that the central government's permission is a mandatory requirement. And the second issue was whether post facto approval later on, is it permissible under the law? The Supreme Court in clear terms has already said that post facto approval cannot be permissible in environmental law for the simple reason that you cause the damage and then you go for an approval. Basically, the destruction will always be legitimized, which could not be the purpose of the law. And the Honorable Division Bench of the Guwahati High Court, seeing the importance of the case, immediately intervened, issued notice. And during that period of time, when we had the lockdown, the case started coming up. We attended the virtual courts. And in the intervening period, the court took it seriously because in the meantime, the government of Assam decided that they will appoint a commission of inquiry under the Commission on Inquiries Act to find out the entire issue as to how all issues which we brought up, they wanted to go for an administrative inquiry. And basically the destruction was not originally thought, it was thought as 57 hectares. It was not in 57. Basically 75 plus hectares of forest land was already cleared without permission. And remaining virgin forest was only 25 hectares. So this report, we took the plea in the court that this report should have been the relevant issue, which should have been taken care of by the National Board of Wildlife, that is the central government. They ignored this. And in the meantime, one of their members, in fact, what we alleged that the committee's report was not placed correctly. And one of them, independent member in the board, he objected. And later on, during the intervening period when the case was going on, and the government of Assam gave a commission of inquiry to look into, to find out the administrative lapse, the National Board of Wildlife again sat and they took a decision that we will not allow any mining. So basically, they have authenticated our case was on a correct footing, and they stopped the entire. In fact, the Assam government had already stalled it in the November of 2019 when this issue cropped up, because for a 17 years period, the Coal India Limited, which is a central government undertaking, went on destroying the forest, and there was no objection from any sides. So what had happened in the October of 28, when this matter came up again before the division bench, the High Court was informed by the Government Council that a commission of inquiry was already going to take place, but I objected. I said that the commission of inquiry is only to look into the administrative lapse of the state government, to take action against any officials who were responsible for this violation, massive violation under the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. No clearance, you go and destroy your forest. But my case was accepted by the court, and the court says, no, we will intervene and we will monitor now. And the court directed the Assam government that you give a report, you complete the, means basically not Assam government, the commission, to finish the report by January end. And the next date, the court, the Guwahati High Court will again monitor, will again take up the case in the first week of February. So we are awaiting that. And I'm told the Commission of Inquiry has already started their inquiry in right earnest. So basically what I personally feel that our case is taking up two very important issues confronting our country at this moment. As you know, the 2020 EI has generated a lot of controversy. And in fact, there has a lot of objections from civil society, NGOs, and from various agencies. And the central government is now looking into those objections. There are two important concepts which the central government wanted to do away is the public hearing, which is also a mandate of law for certain projects, and ex post facto approval was being legalized. Now, basically what I feel that my case, that is PIL 29 of 2020, which is coming up in the month on Dihing Patkai, which is coming up in the month of first week of February, we will be raising those two issues. So it is not that we are for the protection of the Dihing Patkai forest, okay, but the issues involved, because as you know, the courts have finality. In a judicial process, the courts, what the court says is final. That finality is not with the government, that finality is not with our legislature. That's with the court. So we are approaching the court. And I told the court that the Commission of Inquiry's area will be only to find out the administrative lapses, because the Commission of Inquiry doesn't have a power of giving definitive judgment. Its recommendation may be accepted by the government, may not be accepted. But a judgment given by the court has to be complied with. So the court accepted it, and so the court says we are monitoring it. So this case is basically poised in such a situation. So I personally feel at a point of time when we are going for the renewable energy, when the entire European countries, in fact, as you know, the China, South Korea, they have already, European countries, America is joining after 28th of January, after Joe Biden takes over the Paris conference, he's joining the Paris conference. And India, till now, we have not, because China by 2060, they will go carbon neutral. Now, at that point of time, these issues, these cases the contextually, it's so important, so relevant, for the simple reason that now the judiciary will have to look into these aspects of environmental jurisprudence, because from the EI 2020, we are basically giving more importance to the fossil fuels. And fossil fuel thing, basically, in fact, now the United Nations, last week, the United Nations, the Guterres, he has given a very blunt statement that either this year is we are a make or break situation. Either we go and comply with the Paris conference or we are gone. And the younger generation will be the first to be hit. And I'm very confident that the younger generation has taken up, because we need independent voice at this moment. We need people who will independently stand up to tell the truth. What is the position of law, where we stand? We don't want destruction of our future, because the international principles of intergenerational equity has been accepted by the Indian Supreme Court way back in the Vellore case of 1996. It's a part of the Indian jurisprudence, environmental jurisprudence. So we cannot finish a generation that we leave nothing for the future. And who will be the affected persons? Our younger generation. And as you know, in India, the younger generation, the vibrant generation, we have a more younger generation than China. So we can expect they have a future. Their voice has to be heard. And in fact, in this context only, we as lawyers, my other two colleagues thought it that we should do something pro bono. We should take up this matter and we should fight and give our best. In fact, one thing I'd like to disclose, that we have taken up another PIL, which is 35 of 2020 in Bagjan regarding the allotment of 7 hydrocarbons in Dibrugarh-Saikwa National Park through an extended reach mechanism, where drilling will be done from outside the forest. There also we got a very favorable order about 10 days back, where the entire EC has been stayed by the Guwahati High Court. In fact, I'll say that the Guwahati High Court has taken a lead in staying the entire EC on an issue of non-compliance with the mandatory public hearing, because public hearing was not done in those projects. The oil company wanted to go ahead, and our argument was that the public consultation is a democratic process. People's participation is a must. You cannot, because they will be the first to be affected if any disaster takes place. And ironically, the disaster happened in the month of May during COVID in Banjar. So these two cases are very important issues which India is at present confronting regarding the proposed amendment to 2020 is being taken up, and I'm confident that we will get justice in these two cases. The younger generation are taking the lead. In fact, I'm told that the objections in 2020 is so much. I think it's gone to some around about 7+ lakh objections, and the central government has sorted out to form committees to look into, and of course they have not taken a call. And once they take a call, we'll come to know what is the position of the central government. And I personally feel our India being a developing country with so much potential should take the lead in doing away with the fossil fuel things which we at present issues are confronting us everywhere. In fact, in Moland they have taken I've seen how the younger generations have taken a solid stand, and their movement, and our Dean Patka here also, the younger generation, the students, university students, college students, even school students, everyone is so concerned about. In fact, they keep on asking me whenever they get me that, sir, we are concerned about your case. You have to fight with confidence. I say, at least we'll try our best, and we are confident because we are here to protect the environment. And in fact, the legal regime is the only way, because the entire concept of PIL was that public interest litigations will take up issues which affects us the most. And today, at this point of time in our life, environmental law, environmental rights, the third generation rights, they need more protection. So with these few words, I come to an end on my part, and I hope that the initiative, the conversations which you have taken up, the group has taken up, my best wishes and luck is with them. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sure that was inspiring enough for all of viewers out there. We move on to the next very important question, which is how do we act? The question is to all our speakers, which is how is that the citizens can participate in your movement? I would first call upon Chauvin.
Ankit, to be very honest, I am personally not involved in these protests, like as far as organizing them and all are concerned. I think Samuel would know that. But I think the best way to get to protest and to find a way to involve yourself when it comes to the Molem protest, I think the social media handles are all open. There's My Molem, Save Molem. Then there are various other things like Goyant Kolsa Naka, which is another organization which is against coal. So I think all of these have the social media handles. You can contact them on that. Also, if you want to get in contact with the people who are organizing these protests, I could patch you up with them. I'll give you my email address. It's chavinkurrea@gmail.com. You can get in touch with me. I can patch you up with the people who you can contribute to the protests and organizing the protests.
Okay, Samuel, what is it that the citizens can do?
So the main thing what we would recommend citizens doing is starting a conversation. So you go to your friend, you go to your neighbor, you go to your parent, you go to your coworker, anyone at work, and you tell them, like, these are the issues that are there. The government is doing this. Like, these projects have been passed. This is what we stand to lose. The main thing is, apart from spreading it on social media is a great way. Don't get me wrong. social media is great because you get a lot of information over there, and then everything is easily available over there. But apart from sharing it on social media, another important, really important aspect is that we have to make conversation with people. We have to go to your friends. Do your friends know about this? Like, just make people around you aware, and then tell them also. Just make everyone aware, because the more people that are aware of this, the more voices that will rise, and the more I feel that that is how we can get further.
Yes, thank you, Samuel. Trinan?
Yes, yes, Ankit. We have been doing a lot in social media. Our campaign, I am Dihing Patkai, went viral, and we have a page in Instagram, I am Dihing Patkai, and our handle is Green Bus Society, and we have you can recently go and see the insight of Dihing Patkai. We have recently done a uh, documentary by Stories Asia from New Delhi. They featured us, and the name of the documentary is Of Friends and Foes: Dark Businesses in Dihing Patkai. I will send you the uh, the link and all. You can go and check it out, and you can find you will know the insights what is happening in Dihing Patkai, and definitely people have to come out and have to know share their thoughts, and definitely we can come over. We shall overcome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Trinan. What about you, Holly?
Yes, I fully agree with the people who've spoken just before me. Like, the most important way you can act is to speak with people you know, and find ways of taking action together, as people are doing right now in Goa. Incredibly brave people standing up for the future of their region and its amazing biodiversity. I guess, specifically, we have been really working hard with people in Godda to tell their story of displacement and the destruction of their livelihoods for the Adani power plant. And you can find a film we made about that, a petition that they made, and a protest to General Electric, the huge company that is providing some of the materials for that, at stopadani.com/Godda, GODDA. And then one of the big things we're working on at the moment is that we would appreciate any help on is that the State Bank of India are considering giving a 5,000 crore loan to the Adani company for their Australian coal mine. And, at a time when India is really trying to, weather the storm of coronavirus and needs to spend, I'm sure, money in the economic recovery, to spend 5,000 crore on a coal mine far away in Australia that's never going to be profitable seems to us to be a pretty bad idea. So I think any way that people can, let the State Bank of India know that, people are worried about that, and that there are better decisions to be made. They were going to make that decision very quickly, and they have delayed the decision. So the bank is really thinking about it and aware of some of the protests that have happened and the concern that people have. So, any way to kind of speak up there, there's a bit more on our website at stopadani.com/SBI. Thanks.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, everyone. Unfortunately, we would have to wrap it up, but I would like to recite a poem which was shared by my close friend. शोर यूं ही ना परिंदों से मचाया होगा, कोई जंगल की तरफ शहर से आया होगा. पेड़ ने काटने वालों को ये मालूम तो था, जिस्म जल जाएंगे जब सर पे साया होगा. Which means the birds didn't scream without any reason. They saw the city folks come to the jungle. Those who cut the trees knew that the chopped tree would take its shade along to the let the man burn. So thank you, everyone. At the last, follow us on all our social media platforms. And thank you very much to our speakers who gave our valuable time. And of course, to our viewers, thank you very much for joining in. And I wish everyone a very good evening. And please do take care of yourselves. Thank you.